Welcome back to the lunch table, everybody. And before we start the podcast, I just want to shout out our sponsor, Papa J's Lambanog Vodka. Now, they've been making Lambanog for about 400 years in the Philippines, and all it takes is just this little old man to climb up the coconut tree and grab the nectar from the tree, distill it, and it's done within 7 days. It's hella good. Check them out, papajs.com. Now, let's get to the podcast. Yay! All right, welcome back to the lunch table, food for thought. I'm Nico Blitz. You already know where to hit that subscribe button, man. Shout out to my next guest. He can rap his ass off. You might recognize him from doing viral raps over at Venice Beach. He released his debut album last year, Contents Under Pressure. It's about a year old now, right?
Yep. Just came up on the 1 year mark.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Appreciate it.
You might have seen him on the Cruz Show rapping alongside Kendrick Lamar. Harry Mack, what's good, man?
Chilling, bro. Man, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited
happy to have
be
you,
here.
man.
God.
Shout out to my guy Matthew who hooked this up, because when he pitched your name to me, I was like, yeah, I recognize this name from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And, it's because whenever you do rap, you say your name like 300 times. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you get that a lot.
Oh, man, I'm famous for that one right there, bro.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Even when I go on the YouTube comments, man, people be killing you. Like, yo,
Yeah.
he uses his name so much. It's such a filler. But at the same time, it's like, when you are rapping off the top of the head, like, you need those filler words, and why not it just be your name?
100%. Yeah. It worked out well. It's funny because some people in the comments will be like, they'll defend me and they'll be like, nah, man, this is brilliant marketing. And I'm like, nah, I can't own that either. Like, I wish I could say like, yeah, bro, I planned it out. Like, I would embed my name, but it did work out in my favor because there have been tons of people who are like, wait, Harry Mack, I know that name. Like, and they remember it because I say it so much. So it's worked out.
Yeah, I guess it was brilliant marketing without you even realizing that's what was actually happening.
100%.
And I think it's cool too, because when I do hear you rap, you keep your raps, you don't necessarily curse too much.
It's
what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I do. Like, if you go through, like, not a ton, right?
Yeah,
but,
not a ton.
But if you go through, like, I curse and stuff, but I think my overall vibe is very positive, and I'm all about, like, putting smiles on people's faces and that whole thing. So you don't really hear the curses the same way. It's interesting.
Well, I think you use it more so for the rhyme scheme and not necessarily, like, the fillers. Because
Yes.
when I do listen to people rap, I try to pay attention to, like, what are their filler words? Are they
Right.
just using, these words to kind of take up space?
Right.
But I think you do it in a way that is a lot more engaging. I mean, obviously, you're going to be rapping, like, anywhere, and you're just going to call people out based off their shoes or what
Right.
they're wearing. And I'm like, this guy, his mentality is on a different level. I feel like you're thinking, like, 20 seconds ahead of everybody, bro.
Yo, it's funny, man. A lot of people ask me that, like, yo, bro, when you go up in a new space, do you look around, plot out your whole verse, memorize 16 bars and spit it back out? I actually don't do that. I'm just about the easiest way for me to describe it is I'm like half a step ahead of myself at all times. So I don't know exactly where it's going, but as I'm finishing one line, I'm looking on for the next target that's going to fuel the next line.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like you're spitting something out, but then you're already like looking at the next thing, and does it get confusing in your head? Like,
sometimes it does. Like, I get jumbled every once in a while, but the reality is I've been practicing trying to do that technique since I was 12 years old, since I was a kid. Yeah. So, I've just been doing it consistently since then, and it's just that repetition and that practice, just like any other skill set, It's very embedded in my DNA at this point to be able to use that technique. So normally I'm able to keep it straight, but I do get jumbled sometimes.
So at 12 years old, were you like on the bus, B Rabbit style, just writing all your raps on the composition notebook?
I mean, basically, man. Yeah, writing rhymes. I would carry my rhyme book with me everywhere I went. We'd be writing rhymes at school, freestyling on the lunch break, banging out beats on the lunch table.
You feel me?
Shout out, hell yeah. But yeah, man. Honestly, when I saw the name of this, it brought me right back to middle school. We would always do the clips, the grinding beat.
Dude, we would do that same beat too,
Hell yeah.
because it was just so easy to memorize.
Yeah, it was made for the lunch table. Yeah, 100%, bro. Brings me right back. So yeah, man. We've been loving hip hop music and culture since back then.
So I'm sure you were like one of the few kids who had the audacity to just freestyle battle like during your middle school and high school days?
You know what's funny, man? I wasn't in that many battles. Like we did mad ciphers, obviously, where we were just bouncing back and forth and rhyming. I was only in a couple battles. I actually battled this dude in middle school. His name's Ben Johnson. Shout out to Ben Johnson. He's a dope MC. But it was messed up because I lost the battle, which is fine. You know that might happen. But what was really messed up about it was I was in 7th grade and he was in 6th grade.
Ooh.
So I got sunned by the like underclassmen. You know what I'm saying? It was cool, like because I learned about battling. You know, I went into it blind. I was just like, all right, I'll rap and do my thing. But I didn't realize like the whole punchline element and how to really like diss the dude off the top. I was just trying to spit well and do a good verse. And he came in and he also had his crew with him and they were reacting to everything he said. I basically rolled up dolo and was just like, all right, let's go. And so I got served, man. But we ended up making a lot of music together through high school.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do at the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah, because at the same time, too, I think you were in a very sticky situation because if you did end up, like, sunning him, then it's like, oh, this guy's a bully.
Right, exactly.
It was a lose-lose situation for you, man.
No, I appreciate you spinning it that way. I like that, man. I couldn't have won even if I did win.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Who are some of your influences growing up?
Oh, man. So many. You know, when I first discovered rap, I was like still in elementary school, like 3rd grade probably. And it was basically my older sister being like, yo, all the cool kids are listening to Gemmin 95.5. You need to listen to that. And this was in Portland, Oregon, where I'm from. And so that was just, you know, the mainstream rap radio station in Portland at the time. So that was the early 2000s. I was hearing a lot of late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. So I was hearing a lot of like radio rap from that time. So it was like a lot of like Fabulous, Ja Rule and Ashanti, Nelly was huge, that type of shit. And also, you know, some legends, of course, Snoop, Dre, Eminem, Jay-Z, Nas were of course huge at that time as well. So that was my first exposure. And then it was in 6th grade or so. My friend Brady, who I used to make music with, his mom was like, yo, I read an article about this group, Blackalicious. They just dropped a project called Blazing Arrow, and it's getting all these dope write-ups. You guys should maybe check it out. I think she bought it for us as a gift because she had read that it was dope. And, you know, for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, Blackalicious is a legendary underground group from the Bay Area. Yee. And so we turned that on, and I'll never forget the day in my friend Brady's attic. We pressed play on it. And the first track is the title track. It's called Blazing Arrow. And that was our first time hearing the legend, Gift of Gab, which is the MC from Blackalicious. Yeah. And the way he was rapping was so advanced compared to what we had been used to listening to.
On the radio.
On the radio, yeah. Because even like the legends and the really dope MCs who are on the radio, if you're only hearing their smash hits, it's usually not like their most lyrical songs or whatever. So, yeah, man, I just remember, like, our jaws literally, it seemed like a cartoon, like my jaw extended down to the floor.
Yeah, you were just like, oh, this is rap.
Yeah, exactly. So my brain exploded, man. And so that was a real huge influence early on was Blackalicious. That's the first hip-hop show I went to that same year. Blackalicious came to Portland, and we went to go see him. And, yeah, that shit blew my mind. And as far as, you know, freestyling and coming off the top, our first influences, again, were just like the mainstream outlets. Like we were watching 106 in Park, the battles that they would do with like where Jin was going crazy and stuff.
Jin had like what a couple weeks on there.
Bro, he was on there for he won a lot of rounds, man, and got a deal out of it and everything. And we would also watch like Rap City The Basement and see all our favorite MCs.
Man, I forgot about that. That was hosted by who? Big Tigger, right?
Big Tigger would always set it off. Yeah, he had a decent little off-top freestyle to set everything off. And then a lot of artists would do like, you know, written freestyles or whatever. I don't know if everyone was really coming off the top. I don't think a lot of cats were, but we I
mean, people don't do that now.
Right. Usually freestyle isn't like an off the top improvised freestyle. If it is, it's usually denoted as such, right?
Yes.
But we assumed they were coming off the top. So we were like, that's the level. And then it was sometime in that area too, 6th or 7th grade. I remember I walked to the local record shop, CD store. It was a record shop, but I was buying CDs, you know, because that's the era I came up in was the CD era. And so luckily there was this dude who worked at the store. It was called Music Millennium. And there was this dude there who was a hip hop head that worked there. So on the side of the hip hop rack, he would put like his top 5 picks for the week. And they would just be up there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His favorite records from the week. And one week I walked in there and one of them up there on the top 5 chart was by this dude MC Supernatural. And it was called The Lost Freestyle Files.
Okay.
And so I was like, Lost Freestyle Files? All we do all day is try to freestyle. Like, let me check this out. And I picked it up, and that's when I discovered Supernatural, who, you know, is one of the greatest off-top freestylers to have ever lived. And I started checking that out, and it just really blew my mind and opened my eyes to the level of freestyle that's possible off the top. You know, because he was really freestyling about his environment, and every performance he did proved within the performance that it was truly off top.
I get you.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it's like he's referencing things where it's like, okay, he could not have possibly planned that unless he knew what everyone was going to wear and exactly what everyone was going to do.
Exactly.
Right? So, you know, it's one of those things where the first time I heard it, I was like, that's impossible. And then I was like, damn, he's really doing it. It is possible. What's the trick? And I just started checking his shit out, and through him I learned about Juice, who's another incredible freestyler, and then I would do the deep dives online, and I learned about King Los, and you know, of course, like Black Thought and Common, who are also great recording artists, but incredible freestylers, and Eminem, and Snoop Dogg, who's also an incredible off-top freestyler, and I just started going crazy, man, and I became obsessed with it.
Yeah, bro. I remember seeing Common back at this R&B festival that happened last year. Okay. And then he called this lady up on stage, and then he just started going in about like everything she was wearing, making her feel good and whatnot. Yeah. Granted, I know I had the feeling that some of the lines he already had in his head, but then, you know, there was stuff that she was wearing that he was referencing, and I was just like, yo, like he's actually going in right now. And it's a shame because, you know, going back to the topic, like I don't think a lot of MCs practice enough to want to freestyle to that level. And it's kind of like, it's kind of sad because every time I'll post like a freestyle video, it's like, fuck, I got to put freestyle on here, but it's like, I know it's not a freestyle. Right.
Well, you know what, man? That's a common debate, you know, like in the comments of my videos or in the comments of any video that's labeled freestyle. There's always that whole discussion of like, oh, this isn't a freestyle, he's not coming off top. And then there's the follow-up of like, well, freestyle doesn't necessarily mean off top. And that whole discussion, right? So from my perspective, you can't be blamed for putting freestyle in your video. I think you should put freestyle in your video. When I see a video that says freestyle, I don't ever expect it to be off the top.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the word freestyle has evolved to mean something different now. It just means an exclusive verse on a radio show, basically, right?
Verse on a radio show.
It's like, you know, or just some bars that the dude wanted to spit in that moment over, you know, a different beat. You know, like that's a freestyle is just a dude barring out. It doesn't matter if it's written to me at this point. But if it said like off the top freestyle or something, and I watched it, that's when you expect, yeah. And if it seemed like it was written, then I would be like, all right, that's I gotta call bullshit.
Well, that's why like those are the traits that I see that correlate between like you and Kendrick Lamar, because I remember seeing a video of Kendrick. I think it was during like Halloween of like 2014 or 2015, and whoever the host was, they just kept on pulling out words, and I'm just like, that's how I know. You know, like he's actually freestyling. And to me too, like he's coming with the energy. It's a lot more fun. And I think both of you carry those same traits.
Damn.
And, you know, all of that just comes with practice at the end of the day. So I guess my next question to you is like, you know, you mentioned like listening to all these freestylers growing up. Like what was the trick that you saw all of them do that you were like, now I figured it out, now I just have to like keep on practicing this trick?
Yeah, well, there was one, there's a lot of tricks, right? Or you know, I would call them techniques that go into freestyling really well. And everyone kind of has their own unique approach. But there was one critical technique that once I realized it existed, like you say, it kind of busted the door open for me to just dive in and start practicing. And you know, I have my own name for it. I don't know what other people call it, but it's basically this concept of a setup followed by a punchline. So what I mean by that is like, normally when people start freestyling in the beginning, they're very reactionary, right? So like, for example, I'm starting off, Can I rap about this?
Yeah, go
okay,
ahead,
so I
yeah.
see this and I'm like, yo, the vodka, I'm the #1 rocker. I'm about to stop you, right? And they see the vodka, they say vodka, and then
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit, try to think of something that rhymes with that, right?
Yeah.
And I call that like the free-flowing approach. And that can work really well. I was intentionally doing it kind of like sloppy, because that's the problem with that approach is if you're not really good at rhyming quickly, you'll end up running into those walls, right?
Yeah, like it's definitely gonna end after like the second or fourth bar.
Exactly. So anyway, a technique that I realized that most of the really great freestylers, all of them I think are implementing at least some of the time, is this setup punchline concept where you see vodka, you don't say it right away. You store it in your mind for the end of the second line. And you quickly work backwards so the first line sets this up. So the way that would work is I see this while I'm freestyling. I don't say vodka, I say, yo, on the mic, I'm the #1 rocker. I told you that my lyrics get you twisted like vodka. Right?
Okay.
So with that technique, it's super strong for several reasons. One, you're less likely to paint yourself into a corner where you say vodka and realize you don't have a rhyme for that, right? That's not really going to happen because you've done all the hard work of rhyming ahead of time, right?
Rhyming ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you set it up, all you have to do then is slide into home, safe. You're
Yeah.
just going to say vodka and it's going to work. The other reason it's really strong is because it's called a rhyming couplet, those two lines, right? The first line ended with rocker, the second line ended with vodka. That's a rhyming couplet. The end of that second line in the couplet is this massive power position, right? That's the point where if you crush it, everyone goes, oh, right?
Yeah.
That's the part where it rhymes, right? If you just say the first line, nothing rhymes yet.
Yeah.
When I'm on the mic, yo, I be the chief rocker. Okay, nothing rhymed yet. Yo, my lyrics get you twisted kind of like the vodka, right? So that's that. You dig what I'm saying? So that's
I like it.
aha moment where everyone, like humans like rhymes,
Yeah.
obviously. Rap is the biggest genre in the world. And even before rap, lyrics rhymed, right? We like that structure for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We enjoy rhyming sounds. So when that happens, it's always an aha moment. And the fact that it makes sense, even better. And the fact that it's about some shit that he couldn't have planned ahead of time because he's just seeing it now for the first time. All of that shit combines to make that setup punchline technique like really, really powerful.
Yeah, and then I guess the trick after that is coming up with the next two bars that kind of capitalize off the vodka. And you would just have to assume, and then, you would just have to assume that like somebody in the crowd throws in the next word after the fourth bar.
Right. That's the thing. If you're using that technique, you kind of need rapid sources of input, right?
Yeah.
So you either have to be somewhere that's very visually stimulating. Like if I look around this studio, there's a million things I could reference, right? With all the records on the wall or, these coasters, the microphone, the clothes you're wearing, the notebook, whatever. But sometimes you find yourself in scenarios where there's really not that much to reference.
Yeah.
And that's when that technique doesn't work so well. So you got to have other techniques in your bag.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy because then I can't imagine you being in like a blank canvas room and then just trying to figure out like what the hell? Like I'm not even inspired by anything in this room right now.
Exactly. Or, like luckily this podcast gets filmed, but I've been in situations where it's just an audio podcast or maybe I'm on the radio and it's not going to come out as video content. Excuse me. And so in those cases, you can't really use like a visual freestyle approach.
Yeah, that's true.
If I mention the vodka, like everyone in the station might explode, but nobody listening, they're going to be like, what vodka?
Yeah, like what vodka are you really talking about?
Right.
I have this discussion about like MCs, like people who can like rap.
Yeah.
Trying to transition over to the mainstream.
Yeah.
And Eminem is probably the epitome of that.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like he can have his last album, which was cool. You
Right.
know what I mean? But he's also going to have a single kind of like, I think it was called Monster featuring Juice WRLD.
Right.
And there's kind of like that balance, but like, it's difficult because as somebody who enjoys rap and just loves hearing bars, like I would wish that the mainstream would enjoy the bars just as much as I do.
Right.
And it's always difficult for, somebody like a Harry Mack to transition from like, yeah, this is like a YouTube rapper who can rap his ass off.
Right.
And then creating a record that can translate onto the radio and onto mainstream.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's, it's definitely a challenge. Especially nowadays, because the reality is most mainstream music is not hyper focused on the lyrics.
Yeah.
Especially in hip hop, there's a lot of great stuff coming out that I really rock with, but the primary reason I rock with it is usually not the lyrical content as much as it's, the production. I think, what producers are doing nowadays is incredible, as far as creating beats that are massive and that are going to move a huge crowd and vibrate through the whole world, and become huge hits. It's awesome. I think, the incorporation of more melody is really dope too. I mean, I think that's absolutely what has allowed hip hop to become the biggest genre in the world is the incorporation of melody. Because the truth is, a lot of people just don't give a shit about rap. Rapped lyrics. They want something catchy that they can sing along with. I'm in the same boat as you. I love rap. And there's a lot of people like us who love bars, so it's not like that's going away. But as far as creating music that's going to just transcend everything and that, people all around the world are going to want to rock with it, I think that it has more to do with the production and the catchiness of the melodies than it does with the lyrical content.
It makes sense because because within the past maybe 5 years or so, I've seen an influx of just a lot of producers just taking control. Yeah. And like when you hear like a beat from like Mustard, you know exactly what to expect. When you hear a beat from I don't know, let's say DA Got That Dope, for example. It's like you know exactly what to expect. And then even when you're at a club, it's like a lot of people just know the hook, but they're really just going to be dancing to the production.
Yes. 100%. And again, I rock with a lot of that music. I like it. It it's cliche to say, but it's a vibe, it makes me feel excited and like we're turning up and stuff. And, the cadences are catchy. And every once in a while, there's a clever punchline or bar that I'm like, that's funny, that's cool. So, it's just, it's a new era that we're in. The sound of the genre has expanded, but yeah, man, I think it's definitely it can be a challenge for the more like lyrical spitter type guys, to sort of find their place there. And I think that it really comes down to collaboration, having a team around you that's going to say like, okay, you're really dope at the bars. Let us provide a context for that where it's going to have a vehicle that can take your skill and sort of carry it over and present it to the world.
Well, so then how do you feel knowing that this world is basically production hook based and, you're just stuck to the bars?
You know what, man? I'm not mad at it because I feel like it helps me stand out in my niche. I think one of the challenges that a lot of new artists face is that they don't stand out enough. They don't present anything new. Yeah. A lot of young artists that I hear, everything sounds good, right? Like everything sounds correct. It's right. Like the 808 is knocking, the beat sounds dope. They got the auto-tune thing dialed in. They have the right melodies. Like the cadences are right. The voice is right. But it sounds like a million other records we've all heard.
100%.
And so I feel like for those cats, like it's really, really hard to catch because it's just like, why is anyone going to care about you instead of the dudes who are already on Rap Caviar? Right? Or the dudes that are already getting played on 92.3 and on the mainstream outlets. It's like, how are you going to get there? And so for me, I'm sort of in a place where, I want to take it as far as I can take it. And, if I can touch the whole world, that's great. But at the end of the day, if I just have a really strong identity as an artist and a really strong niche, and if I have my fans who rock with me, maybe it's not billions of fans like Cardi B, right? Yeah. But if it's in the beginning, if it's hundreds of fans, or if it's thousands, tens of thousands of fans, and they rock with me because I'm Harry Mack, to me, that's the goal. And that's almost more valuable, because they're going to grow with me and rock with me. And that's why I try to interact with my fan base so much is because, I feel very lucky to have any fans at all. And I think the reason I have those fans is because I'm different. I have a unique approach. I create content that's not exactly the same as everything else that's going on, and it has a unique identity. And I don't want to let that fan base down. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I hear you because at the end of the day, I think Gary Vee said it the best. You only need 100 people to invest $100 in you. That's not a lot,
right?
You know what I mean,
right?
And I'm going back on like your Instagram. I think you were rapping about Oh man, you used Elon Musk.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I did a freestyle about like the simulation
theory, right?
Yeah,
and I'm over here like watching the whole shit. I'm like, what the fuck is he rapping about the simulation theory right now? Like, what's this about? Rapping about like AI and all this shit,
right?
And I think I saw in like the top left corner, like someone had paid you like $15 just to like rap about it. I'm like, that's fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because to me, it's like it's Harry Mack doing Harry Mack to its fullest, and somebody appreciates you enough to that point to be like, yo, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna break you off. Like, what? I'm gonna break you off for doing exactly what you do.
Exactly. And that's the thing, man, is I want to grow with that guy. You know, that guy obviously supports me. You know, and supports me for doing my own thing. So. Yeah, man, I love it.
Yeah, shout out to that guy.
Shout out to that guy, bro. I should have memorized his name.
Yeah, shout out to Harry Mack too, man. You know, it was cool going back and seeing your little interview with Cruz and also having Kendrick like to the side of you.
Yeah,
and you know, you being able to like rap in front of Kendrick and Kendrick giving you like, you know, his props like afterwards. You actually used it in like one of your songs too, and I was like, okay, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. But like, what was that moment like for you? Like, not only meeting Kendrick, but being able to be Harry Mack in front of Kendrick.
Man, it was crazy, bro. To be honest with you, that was one of the craziest days of my life for sure. Probably the craziest day of my life. Yeah, because you know, I found out that was happening like an hour before I showed up at the station.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was wild, actually. So I'll run you through the story real quick.
All right, y'all. So long story short, I was DJing at the club the other night, and they were passing out free bottles. As soon as I took a shot of this drink, I turned back to the guy and said, "What is this?" He said it's Papa J's Lambanog straight from the Philippines. I'm talking about I had a couple of these shots throughout the night, and I was feeling hella good by the time I was done DJing. I didn't even have a stank face with any single shot that I took. Now, if you go to papajs.com right now and use the promo code LUNCH, you'll get $25 off delivery and have Papa J's directly onto your doorstep. Yay!
So yeah, the Kendrick day, man, was absolutely crazy. So what had happened was, you know, I was going to go on the station, you know, on the Cruz Show already for a different reason. I was part of this festival that was coming up, and I was going on with some other MCs and performers to sort of like hype up the festival and just do some basic promo. And I had like woken up to a text early that morning, probably 6 a.m. that was like, you know, oh, we got canceled. You know, we're not going on the station today. Like, they're going to reschedule for later in the week. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. You know, I'll sleep in a little bit. So I lay back down, you know, whatever. And then like maybe half an hour later, I get another text from my guy, Edgar Preciado, who was working at the station at that time. Shout out to Edgar. And he was like, bro, give me a call right now, you know? And so I hit him up, and he was like, yo, you were supposed to come on. I was like, yeah, you know, I had heard, you know, they're going to reschedule it. And he was like, yeah, that's true. The reason that they're rescheduling your interview is because somebody else is coming on today. And it's Kendrick Lamar. And he called us early this morning and was like, clear the schedule. We're coming on to do promo.
Yeah.
And I guess when you're Kendrick Lamar, you can do that.
You can do whatever you want, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Up anywhere.
Exactly. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. I thought he was just telling me, like, you know, so that I would be able to check it out. So I'm like, dope, bro. Thanks for the tip. I'll be sure to listen in. He was like, no, man, real talk. Like, are you down to come on and do the same thing that you did with Joey? Because I had freestyled with Joey Badass on the station previously. Do the same thing you did with Joey, but this time with Kendrick Lamar. And literally, I put the phone down from my face, and I was like, my brain was like, no, like, absolutely not. You're not ready for that. Like, you're not ready to meet him. You're definitely not ready to rap for him. But, you know, all those voices in your head, you know there's only one answer.
Yeah.
So phone back to the mouth like, yeah, man, when should I be there? He's like, yo, he's going to be here in an hour. Like, come right over. Hop in the shower, get in the car. I'm like straight up like tweaking. I'm like shaking in the car. I have the beats on, like freestyling all loud, trying to get hype, you know, on the drive over. Pull up to the station. I'm super nervous, man, like crazy nervous, because this is somebody who I idolize, you know? I mean, this is one of my favorite rappers, period, of any era, you know? I mean, Kendrick is, in my eyes, you know, a legendary MC. And so I get in the elevator with, I think it was Edgar who came down and met me, and I'm like basically just quiet, and he's quiet too. You know, I mean, it's a big moment for everybody, even the station, you know, to know that somebody of that caliber is coming through. And so we're not really talking, and then eventually I'm like, yo, man, so like, you ran it by him and he's cool? And then Edgar was like, nah, man, I think we're just gonna do it. And so I immediately got like that much more nervous because like on the one hand I'm like, okay, that's dope, like because it's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, but what if he's not down? And like, what if it's a weird vibe, or he's like, who is this dude? Why is he crashing my interview? There's a lot more opportunity for it to kind of go wrong if he doesn't even know that it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I'm sitting in the side room. They got the speakers on so I can hear his interview. I'm hearing him talk in the other room. I know he's just right on the other side of the wall. And I'm like super nervous, just trying to breathe and focus it all in. And then it was basically like out of a movie, somebody from the station with like a headset like opens the door and it's like, Harry Mack, it's time, you know?
Oh,
I'm like, all right. So yeah, man, I just put one foot in front of the other and walked in there, walked past them. You know, you can tell I'm nervous in the video.
Yeah.
And Cruz is even like, man, you nervous? Your voice is shaking, you know? And
I'm here.
Exactly.
Ready to go.
Exactly. But sat next to him, and he was super down, and you know, he threw out words for me to freestyle and improvise about, and I did my thing, man. I don't really remember doing it. I basically blacked out because I was so nervous.
You blacked out.
Basically, it felt that way. It felt like I wasn't there, and I tried not to look at him because I didn't want to see like how he was reacting.
Yeah.
I was just trying to focus. But then there was one moment where like out of the corner of my eye, I looked over and he was rocking with it, and I just like got like supercharged because I was like, all right, dope. You
went
know,
Super Saiyan really quick.
Yeah,
You feel me?
hell yeah. And it was dope too because once I like calmed down and like got my wherewithal and everything, I was like, oh, all right, well, like you know a lot about Kendrick Lamar. So I started rapping about how I had discovered him through hearing the video for The Heart Part 1 and like how I was like super excited when Good Kid dropped and like everything and how it was crazy to be sitting next to him. And I got to kind of like almost do a tribute to him in the freestyle.
In that moment, yeah.
Yeah. And then afterwards, he said those super nice things to me where he was basically just like, you know, you say I'm great in your eyes because I inspire you, but you inspire me, and it goes both ways. And, you know, I feel your hunger, and it makes me want to go back to the lab and work. And that was just an incredible moment, man. Like, I'll never forget that. I get to hold that with me in my heart for my whole life. And even watching the video is super emotional for me. It's hard for me to watch it now. Wow. It was just a crazy moment, man. And when he was saying that shit, I had major like imposter syndrome, you know, like, you know about imposter syndrome, where it's like where you feel like you tricked the whole world to get where you're at. Like you don't actually deserve to be there. You know, it's like this, it's like, how am I getting this message from Kendrick Lamar that doesn't make any sense? I must be pulling a fast one.
It's almost like this shit isn't real.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I couldn't really hear what he was saying to me in the moment. Only afterwards, when I went back and watched it, did I realize, like, oh my God, like, wow, he really said that shit to me. And, you know, right afterwards, I thought I did bad. I remember I called my mom. I was like, yo, I had this huge opportunity. I think I blew it. Like, I think I was whack, you know, like, I hit up my manager at the time, who I was working with, Sam Katz. Shout out Sam Katz. And he was like, yo, you rap for Kendrick? I was like, dude, I think it was whack. Like, I don't want you to see it. Yeah. Like, and he was like, dude, I'm sure it was fine. And the next day, everybody was hitting me up and was just like, bro, you crushed that shit with Kendrick. Man. So it was crazy, man.
You definitely did. I'm interested to like, I wish I could just like shrink myself and like go into your brain when you like blacked out. Cause I want to know like, yo, like he blacked out as he's rapping and shit.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, you mentioned earlier, like you're already trying to think like 30 seconds ahead of like, you know, like whatever you're going to be rapping about and shit. But like, I've never heard of anyone blanking out as they're freestyling.
It's crazy, man. Well, you know, like, I think it's related to this sort of concept of flow state, you know, like if you've ever heard somebody be like, yeah, like I was in flow state, you know, which is like athletes will talk about that a lot. Like when they're like at their ultimate peak, they're kind of in this flow state where they're not thinking. Like their brain sort of steps to the side, and it's not really like they're using their conscious brain anymore. It's like they're in this flow state. Of course, they are using their brain, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels like they're just almost in like a meditative state where everything is just falling into place exactly how it should.
That's crazy.
And a lot of times when you're doing something like apparently like what athletes do when they're playing sports. I'm not an athlete, so I don't know. Or freestyling like me, or a jazz musician playing an improvised solo, or anything like that requires like a really high level of being in the moment and being able to channel inspiration. Oftentimes the brain is what gets in the way and messes it up. You know, if I try to think too hard, like, let me be dope right now, you know, it's not going to be dope.
Yeah.
So it's more about quieting the mind and trying to be in the moment. That's what's going to allow you to really knock it out of the park. So I think that's what happened. My brain was just like, this is too much right now, bro. You can't be thinking about the fact that that's Kendrick Lamar, thinking about what he means to the culture and to your city. That's too much to process right now. Just freestyle. Try to do a good job, you know?
I think you legitimately went like Super Saiyan 4 or something, bro. Like, I've never heard of like anybody achieving that. But I mean, like, you know, like based off what you were telling me, I guess, you know, certain athletes and some people like do end up achieving that. Do you feel like you've actually achieved that flow state after the Kendrick Lamar freestyle?
Yeah, like I'm always trying to access that state. It doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like you would have to like unconsciously like tap into that. Like it doesn't just happen when you want it to happen.
No. I mean, I think the goal is you practice a ton in an organized way so that when you're in those situations, you have a chance of going there. You know what I'm saying?
Insane, bro.
But you can't really plan it. It's like sometimes that inspiration strikes you and sometimes it doesn't. But luckily, you know, I've practiced enough. All of the greats, you know, have practiced enough so that even when you don't get struck by that lightning of inspiration where you hit that flow state, it's still going to be at a professional level. Like even on my off days, I'm still going to be able to freestyle.
It kind of sounds like taking a psychedelic without taking a psychedelic.
Hell yeah, bro. I think definitely, man. I think it's definitely similar. Plus, I was on shrooms when I was rapping with... No, I'm just playing.
You know, I just smoked a little bit right before I got into the studio, man. Yo, that's crazy, man. I've never heard of that shit.
Hell yeah, man.
Man, I only wish to achieve that moment in my life. Because it seems like one of those moments that people don't normally achieve. But as you said, like, I guess it just takes a lot of practice and willpower just to achieve that when your body just decides to tap into it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man. So like, I was going over your discography, and it's just like a whole bunch of singles plus the album.
Yep.
So you know, like, what's the plan right now? Because the album dropped like a little over a year ago.
Yeah, a little over a year ago. So I'm in the lab every day. I'm writing. I'm working on new stuff. I'm definitely planning to drop a project this year. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly when, but I'm kind of in the writing phase right now. I'm writing every day and getting material together. So yeah, definitely want to drop another project. And I'm also going hard creating content for YouTube and social media right now. Lots of like video content, freestyle oriented content, just to, you know, stay connected to my roots.
Yeah.
And keep all of that moving. And also, you know, a lot of my like followers on YouTube and stuff like that, that's the content that they love and that they want from me. And I love creating that type of stuff. So I'm going back in on that. I basically rebranded the live in-person freestyle content, and we're calling it Gorilla Bars is the name of the series.
I saw that.
now.
Yeah. 'Cause I think you posted one video a couple months ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we took a little break for the holidays. I've just been doing new shoots for Gorilla Bars and getting it ready to come out for like the season 2 kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did 6 Gorilla Bars videos, which are a lot of fun. We just go out to like, you know, hot spots throughout LA. We went to like the Rose Bowl Flea Market, Melrose Trading Post. We go back to Venice Beach a lot, Echo Park. I used to live over there, and it's always popping at the park on weekends. And, you know, we'll just go places where there's lots of people, and I'll just go up to people. It's kind of like, did you ever see David Blaine's Street Magic?
I've seen a couple videos like in the past, but it's similar to that.
It's like that, but the freestyle version.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm just going up to actual strangers and being like, "Yo, can I do some freestyles for you? Hey, what's up?" Like,
I'm sure you. So then, like, what is your normal response? Do people kind of just be like, "Eh," or then other people you get like, "Yeah, like, sure." Do what you got to do, bro.
Exactly. I mean, you know, there's a lot of rejection involved with it for sure. But over time, I mean, straight up. Like, there's a lot of people who I think are just like, A, they're just doing their thing. They're out with their friends. They're on a mission. Like, they know what they're there to do, and it doesn't involve some random dude freestyling about them. And B, I think a lot of people understandably just assume it's going to be whack, you know, and I totally get that. Like, I feel like 99 out of 100 times it probably is going to be whack and a waste of time. I know I'm going to be dope. So I'm always like, oh, you're missing out. Yeah. But, you know, they don't know that. So I totally respect it. And I'm always trying to be respectful of people's space. But over time, we've gotten better at kind of targeting groups that we feel like are probably going to be down. Like when we're looking for people to approach, I'm looking for like groups of young people like around our age or who are already laughing and having fun.
Just to amplify their experience a little bit more. Yeah.
Like if they're already look like they're open-minded and having a good time and being a little loud, if it's people with straight faces that are quiet, just standing around like smoking a blunt or something, it's like, well, they're probably not going to be that into it.
Yeah.
So
it's not going to look good on video either.
Right. Exactly. Because it's all about the reactions. I mean, with those videos, it's the reactions that people have, the genuine reactions that you can tell through the screen that it's a real reaction. And that's what sells the content. It's like, wow, like these people were truly blown away by what was happening. And that's why I say the David Blaine of freestyle is because he was kind of the first magician to be like, don't show me, show them. Show them reacting to me, right? Like I'll do the trick, but what makes it really pop is when you can tell that these real people are like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I guess it makes somebody like looking from the other side of the screen be like, oh, well, that's cool because they basically saw that it was cool too.
Yeah, it's funny. There's some takes where like I feel like I was crushing it and the videographer is crushing all the references and like the bars are crazy, but the people are just sitting there like this, In one of the videos, like a girl literally starts going on her phone while I'm doing it. And so it's like,
that's just the generation we live in right now, man.
I know. So like, even though I think it's super dope, we don't post those because it'll never work. I'm thinking of doing a funny one, like a comedy one where it's
spoof.
Yeah, where it's like all the outtakes, where it's like, guy does epic freestyle for no reaction, and just string all those together because I think it's funny.
Yeah.
But like, nah, like normally it just ruins the content. No matter how good of a job I think I'm doing, if they're not reacting, then it doesn't really go.
Well, I mean, I think you're doing an outstanding job, man. Keep
appreciate
doing your thing,
you, bro.
So
Thank you,
you came in here a whole bunch of smiles. Whenever you're out freestyling, you're always trying to amplify people's experiences. But like, I guess. What has been the most difficult part of your venture as a rapper?
Man, it's a great question, because it's kind of like people talk about this a lot with comedians, where it's like they're always so up and they're always trying to make other people laugh, but it's like, who makes the comedian laugh? And there's all these things with like, mental health issues and depression for comedians, right? Where it's like a lot of times when they're not on the stage doing that thing that they do so well, they might be depressed, or they might have issues of their own. For me, I think it's, the challenge is like, it's kind of weird to be really celebrated for a skill set and for this sort of raw talent and to like again and again get affirmations for the raw talent, right? It's like, okay, I do the Venice video, it goes really viral, that's awesome. It's like, okay, we're doing something good, Cruz Show reaches out, I get to meet and rap for Joey Badass. He gives me props. That goes crazy. I get to meet Kendrick Lamar. He gives me props. That goes crazy. And again, these affirmations of like, you're doing it. But then to still sort of feel so far away from really being on. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, it's still so far away, it feels like a lot of the time from like really being a household name or just being someone who's like, okay, now you're in the game. You know what I mean? Because even with all those affirmations for the freestyle shit, it's not like Harry Mack is on in the game. Like, it's not like most people who listen to rap radio even know who I am. I'm very fortunate to have a strong platform and a strong following of fans again, and I'm really appreciative. But I'm still on the outskirts of the game. You know what I mean? And I think that has a lot to do with some of the things we've talked about before, where it's like, I've had friends say like, man, if this was like, a different era, it might be different for you. If this was the 90s when it was all about bars and lyrics, who knows? So I think, that's a challenge for me. And, but at the end of the day, man, I'm so happy to be just able to support myself full-time music, bro. Like
that's a blessing, bro.
It's a huge blessing, man. And it's a huge accomplishment and I'm really proud of it, and to me, that's always been the goal. It's like, hey man, can I pay my rent and pay my bills and be okay from music? And if so, I'm winning. You know what I mean? So as long as I can keep that going, I'm good.
We need this guy to do a TED Talk or something, man. You feel me? Like, that was some very inspirational shit. You feel me?
Man. Yo, I'm inspired being here, bro.
Man,
I appreciate you, man.
I'm so happy to have you here,
Hell
man.
yeah.
When do you plan on or actually, let's do this. Let's go through a round of like super quick questions, and you just answer everything to the best of your ability.
Okay, let's go.
So obviously, Harry, we're at the lunch table. So what's your favorite lunch?
Ooh, my favorite lunch is tacos, man.
Tacos.
Al pastor.
Street tacos?
Yeah, taco
Love
trucks.
Love it. Who is a artist in general that's basically like your dream collaboration?
Nas.
Okay. I felt because you referenced Nas a couple times in your song, so I should have known that off top.
Easy, bro. He's the best rapper in the world, yeah.
What about producer?
Primo. DJ Premier.
I like. Primo actually had a really dope song with Miguel that dropped like 2 years ago.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah, he's branching out. He's doing other things. Yeah.
Shout out to Primo, man.
Yeah.
When is the next single dropping?
I don't know. That's a good question. But I got a bunch of stuff in the vault, man. So probably soon. Yeah.
And last question, man. What is one random music fact that people do not know about you?
My first instrument was the violin.
Okay.
Yeah, I started playing violin when I was 7. Yep.
See, maybe in some way, shape, or form, you need to incorporate the violin as you're rapping, bro. I don't know.
If that doesn't go viral, then I don't know how to make viral shit.
That's what I'm saying. If it does go viral, you owe me like 5% of all the profits.
I got you, bro. We'll do a split sheet before I leave, man. You already know.
Harry Mack, man, thank you for stopping by the lunch table, man. We're actually going to have this guy rap in just a bit, but before we get to that, where can everybody find you?
Oh, man, it's just at Harry Mack across the board, youtube.com/Harry Mack for my videos, Instagram and Twitter at Harry Mack, and I'm on Spotify, Harry Mack.
There we go. Well, this is the lunch table, food for thought. I'm Nico Blitz, Harry Mack,
yes,
and
sir.
we're out for the time being. Yay!